Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Thoughts of the Young Icon with me, Sam. As you can see today, I'm wearing my real estate talk shirt because today I'm talking real estate. I had started on a video where I talked about the real estate profession, but today I want to continue on that video and delve deeper into real estate development. I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you very much. In a previous episode, I had started talking about property development. So, in that episode, I was talking about the real estate profession and how the real estate profession works. So, I touched on advisory, property management, estate agency, and property valuation. And I had started to touch on the area of property development, but I hadn't gone into it thoroughly. So, I'd like to delve deeper into that because I think property development is a very beautiful career path. It's a career path that takes advantage of a lot of skills. It's a career path in which you bring together a team and you create beautiful things. In fact, in Malawi, that's something that I believe at the moment is sort of missing. We have Malawi Housing Corporation as a developer. We have several other private developers, but we don't really have a full-fledged developer who is doing big works. So, what qualification do you need to get into property development? As of now, there's no legal limitations into property development. You, as an individual, as long as you have the capital, as long as you have the know how, you can get into property development. So, property development, what does it entail? A property developer is someone with a vision, someone with insight, someone who sees, say, a piece of land and then they envision something that it could be. And this something needs to, again, conform to the planning laws, the planning bylaws of that area. So, like here in Malawi, every single part of the country is a planned area. What does it mean to be a planned area? A planned area means that every single part of the country has zones or has uses that have been placed upon it. So, in order to be a good developer, you need to understand the zoning laws, you need to understand what the planning for a particular area is. So, for example, in a residential unit, no matter how much money you have or whatever vision you have, you cannot build a factory in a residential area. An area that is zoned for residential purposes is only going to be used for residential purposes. So, as a developer, that's one of the key skills that you need to be able to understand and acquire. And to be a very good developer, you need to sort of move in between the lines because there's certain areas where the line is a bit blurry. It can be an intersection between commercial and residential, whereby some of the units on this end are residential and then the other end are commercial. In certain areas like that, your understanding of highest and best use then comes into play as a developer. So, what does the developer's work look like? The developer's work looks like seeing a parcel of land and then coming up with a plan, coming up with a development, coming up with an idea of what buildings can be placed there. The next step is now to engage your professional team. So your professional team is architects, land economists like myself, land surveyors, physical planners, quantity surveyors, and a number of other professionals who work in the built environment. So by coming up with this team, basically what you're trying to do is take your idea, which is into your mind, convey it to these professionals who are then going to show you a visual representation of what is in your mind. And obviously, that's going to require your guidance to give them enough information to provide you a visual representation of what this thing is going to be on the ground. And the team is also going to help you know how much it will cost to construct, and they'll also be able to help you during the construction process. So the beginning part, the first phase, is basically like we've talked about the planning, the zoning laws, making sure that your development conforms to the zoning laws, the planning for that area. Next, you get the architects to do the drawings. They bring your vision to life. They create 3D models. And of course, at this stage, there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of back and forth until finally you create what it is that you envision. And then the next part is you take what you have envisioned, which the architect has now put an illustration to. You take these drawings, you take the construction drawings, the plans, and then you have a quantity surveyor look at them and cost the whole project for you. A very, very important aspect of any project as a property developer is understanding the cost factor. The moment you don't understand the cost factor, you're not able to project into the future well. So if you misproject into the future, if you underestimate the cost of a project, that will have implications to the income that will come, that will have implications to the amounts that you have or the value. Because if you come up with a project and the value of that project is say $1 billion, or let's just put it here in our local currency, 1 billion kwacha. That's what you're envisioning your project's value to be at the end. Now, if you then cost it incorrectly and you assume that your cost of construction and development are 800 million, so you're giving yourself a 20% profit at 200 million. If you get that wrong and your costs in fact are 1.5 billion, then obviously your development is going to be a fail, you're going to be in losses. Why is that very important to understand? In many instances, many developers do not use their own money. So the shrewd developers, they have an idea. They know the team to execute that idea. They know what to do, but they may not have the funds. And in developed economies, having an idea is enough for you to go to, say, a financial institution, to go to a private investor, to seek equity, to seek funds for your project. So it's very important that you cost every project correctly. In fact, it's better to overshoot than to undershoot. So after you've costed the project, you then, having seen that the numbers make sense, decide whether you're going to go forward. And like I said, in many instances, as a property developer, you may not outright have the cash needed for this development. The next step would then be to go and look for financing for the project. This can also be exciting. So there's many areas, many avenues by which you can attain financing for a project. You can look at banks, you can look at family and friends, you can look at private investors. In any economy, in every economy actually, there's a lot of people who have a lot of money who don't know what to do with it. As a good developer, it's up to you to go and look for these people, find them, pitch the idea, sell the concept to them, and if they buy in, you have financing for your project. In a country like Malawi, you need to be extra careful because with our volatile economy, projecting funds, projecting projects becomes tricky. Like I'll give you the example of last year. If you projected a project, let's say it was going to last 24 months last year and you costed it in kwacha last year, you're going to be in a very sticky position today because at the end of last year, the kwacha devalued by 44%, which means that your projections, if they were in kwacha, given that most of the inputs in our construction process are imported, your costs increase by 44%, actually by more, because when you have a 44% development, everyone's prices go up by 50, 60%. So again, you need to weigh your options as to where you're going to get your finances. You need to understand the payback period. You need to understand interest rates. This becomes very key because when you understand your cost of financing, it helps you now project your earnings in that you understand that your earnings need to hit a certain minimum value for the project to be viable. Again, once you have done all that, those are the feasibility studies. You then go into the building phase. So the building phase, that's when you get the contractors, that's when you get the engineers, the architects, your project managers. They build the project for you. And in an ideal situation, they build the project for you on time and everything comes out just as you had hoped. You get your tenants in there, and as a property developer, there's a lot of avenues that you can take from there. So as a property developer, you can choose to lease the property so that you enjoy rental income, and being a real estate rental income can basically be derived almost in perpetuity. As long as you're keeping the property well managed, in good condition, it's going to continue paying you. Another avenue that developers take is to develop and immediately sell. So, in order for that to be successful, you need to ensure that you develop a good property, you develop it in the most efficient way cost wise, and then you sell it at market price or above market price by hiring very good estate agents. Now, as you can see, the property development um, career, it takes into account a lot of other careers. It brings together a lot of other professions. You're talking land economists, when you develop the property. In fact, even in the feasibility stage, a land economist has to come in and give you a valuation. Of course, it's going to be a desk valuation, but they'll give you a valuation, a projection, on what the value of the property could be. So there's that. There's the cost guys, the quantity surveyors, there's the architects, the drawers, the land surveyors. So many people coming together, and that's the beauty of the property development field. And if you become a successful property developer, I assure you, you'll be rich in no time. Now, the other side of the coin is if you are unsuccessful property developer, you risk getting yourself in a mountain of debt. However, like I say, I'm always super optimistic for any career, any profession in Malawi being a developing country. Malawi has a high demand for residential houses that is never going to be met. The current developers that we have on the market, they are not building nearly as fast, as quickly as the demand is always rising. People are always migrating from the rural areas to the urban, and that has created a lot of pressure. And so far, there's no one who's addressing this. So if you seek to get into the property development field, I encourage you. There's so much that you can do. In fact, my personal desire over time is that I move from the advisory roles, valuation, sales, and actually become a property developer. My dream is that one day I move from managing other people's properties to developing properties and then managing my own properties, selling my own properties instead of selling other people's properties. So, property development is like the mecca, it's like the end goal for me as a real estate practitioner. And it can be an end goal, or it can be something that anyone practices. You don't need to be a technical real estate man. What you need to do is be able to bring together a lot of professionals, a lot of people who can assist you to create beautiful real estate developments. If you've listened this far, I'd like you to hit that like button. I'd like you to hit that comment. Let us know what you think about my thoughts on real estate. Let me know if there's anything more you'd like for me to share with regards to real estate. And lastly, don't forget to tell a friend about Thoughts of the Young Icon. Thank you very much.